If you'd like to watch that entire 8-minute and 56-second clip, you can find it on YouTube on a channel called MLB Lover Rock. I want to talk about the lyrics to this song in this short video, Chloe Dancer, Crown of Thorns. And I know that most people agree that this song is actually about Andrew Wood's girlfriend slash fiance at the time, Zana Fuente. And in fact, I think he actually dedicates the song to her in the very beginning of that video, if you listen closely. So I'm not here to deny that that's what it's about, but I think Andrew Wood was a pretty talented lyricist slash poet. And all good poetry usually has multiple meanings to it. In other words, you can read it a couple different ways. And, the best poetry can be read a lot of different ways and may even contain meanings that the author themselves didn't perhaps intend. And the perspective I want to take is from the awareness that Andrew Wood was very much a fan of glam rock in the tradition of, cross-dressing and gender bending. And he loved Freddie Mercury. I think Freddie Mercury, Mark Bolan, and Elton John were like maybe his top three as far as influencing his presentation. Paul Stanley, very flamboyant. So this was the tradition that Andrew Wood was drawing from. But the question I want to ask is, what was he exactly? Because he was influenced by those individuals, but he wasn't those individuals. He was himself. He was his own character, which is what made him, so interesting and awesome. Was that he was very unique. To say that, he's sort of play acting the way Paul Stanley play acts, I think those sell him short. I think that he needs to be viewed on his own terms. And I think there was some ambiguity there. I don't believe he was actually gay myself. I don't know that. I didn't know the guy. I'm just guessing as an outside perspective. I don't even think he was necessarily bisexual. I think he wanted to be a woman. And I think that's what this song is about on one level. So that's the perspective I'm going to approach interpreting this song. And I don't think that interpretation even contradicts any of the other ones. So just right in this very first one, this very first verse, he says, Chloe don't know better. Chloe's just like me, only beautiful. A couple of years difference, but those lessons never learned. Did you know? I think Chloe is the woman he wishes he was, the beautiful woman he wishes he was. He says right there, Chloe is just like me, only beautiful. And that can obviously be taken as, that's my better half, that's my girlfriend. But I think it's him. It's the beautiful person he wishes he was that he knows he can't be. A couple years difference, but those lessons never learned. I think there's an acknowledgement there that he's reaching for something he can't achieve. And so the couple years difference accounts for, I'm not as wise as I should be, and I should know the difference. Chloe does the tables in the French Quarter she's always been given. So I can't always make her laugh, but I'm proud to say, and I won't forget, the time spent laying by her side. Dreams like this must die, and a dream like this must die. So Chloe dancing tables at the French Quarter, describing the behavior and the flamboyant nature of this character, Chloe, embodied by Andrew Wood himself as he prances around stage. I can't always make her laugh. This makes me think of the documentary Malfunction, the Andrew Wood story, I think it's called. I haven't seen it in a while, but I know there's a part in there where Andrew's mother talks about how he would come to her after a show, after he just made a whole room of people laugh, and he would start bawling and crying to her. He had demons, he had insecurities. So when he says, I can't make her laugh, I think he's talking about his alter ego. It makes me think of the line in that Beatles song, "Although I laugh and act like a clown, beneath this mask I'm wearing a frown." He had a sadness and a darkness beneath it because he knew he couldn't hold up the facade. But he's proud. He won't forget the time he spent by her side. He inhabited. You invest yourself in a fantasy and you fall in love with it. You spend time laying by its side. But dreams like this must die because it is a fantasy, and you can't live in that fantasy your whole life. You got to grow up someday, or you got to move up. You got to move beyond it. And if you're damaged, if you have a troubled childhood, perhaps abused or who knows what, Andrew Wood started doing drugs very early. That's not a sign of a healthy childhood. I'm sure there's some stories in his past that most people will just never know. Who knows what happened to him, but he was troubled. And I think he was invested in this dream that he knows must die. You ever heard the story of Mr. Faded Glory? Say, he who rides a pony must someday fall. Talking to my altar, say life is what you make it. And if you make it death, will rest your soul away. I think Mr. Faded Glory is the person Andrew Wood really is that he can't acknowledge, that he can't be. He can't quite be himself. He has to either be this beautiful, glamorous woman character, Chloe, or he has to be Mr. Faded Glory that's just going to basically die because he doesn't like who he is. And so he rides the pony to sort of medicate himself, which people have said, I never was a heroin user, but apparently riding the pony is code for doing heroin. So how many of us have vices to compensate for things that we can't deal with or things we can't be? What do? We drink. We take depressants, and some of us even shoot up drugs. Talking to my altar is an interesting line because initially I thought he was sort of worshiping this fantasy and putting it on an altar, putting Chloe on an altar. But there's also the alternative personality, which is what the band did, what Malfunction did, his original band before Mother Love Bone. They all had alternate personalities. So if you think in terms of mind control, an alter is a different personality that gets switched. So that's kind of interesting language there that fits in, right in with what I'm talking about. And if you make it death, will rest your soul away. He's taking a dark road because he's having a hard time holding on to this, his happiness, which is connected to his ability to become this character, Chloe. It's a broken kind of feeling. She'd have to tie me to the ceiling. A bad moon's a-comin', better say your prayers, child. I want to tell you that I love you, but does it really matter to you? I just can't stand to see you dragging down again. Again, my baby, again. So it sounds like he's losing a woman or losing a relationship or losing someone he loves, which it very well may be. It may very well be Zena Fuentes. But I think it could also be a metaphor for this Chloe character. He's losing his own ability to maintain that character that is happy and lives in that fantasy world that Andrew Wood is known for, producing when he gets on stage, and what makes everyone so happy and brings everyone so much joy and is so creative and interesting when he gets on stage. So I'm singing, and this is my kind of love. It's the kind that moves on. It's the kind that leaves me alone. A good kind of love doesn't leave you alone. The kind of love that leaves you alone is a doomed one. And that's exactly the kind of love we've been talking about here. Yes, it does. And this is my kind of love. That's who he is. That's who I am. And that's what's going to do me in. I used to treat you like a lady. Now you're a substitute teacher. This bottle's not a pretty sight. I owe the man some money, so I'm turning over, honey. See, Mr. Faded Glory is once again doing time. Oh, yeah. So I used to treat you like a lady. Now you're a substitute teacher. The the character Chloe that he's trying to be he's not able to maintain it. It's fading. So he could sort of feel like a lady before. He could maintain the fantasy better, but now it's fading, and he's starting to feel like more of a clown, more of a substitute teacher, like a substitute for something he can't be. So he turns to the bottle, and the bottle's not a pretty sight because, he knows he's doing that because he can't handle reality. I owe the man some money. That might be a reference to drugs. I owe the man some money, or a deal that was made. Maybe there was a deal that was made to become famous, and he's got to pay up, and the price is his soul. And Mr. Faded Glory, that's him. Mr. Faded Glory is the Andrew Wood that's doomed, that's going down. The counterpoint to Chloe. Like a crown of thorns, it's all who you know. Yeah. So don't burn your bridges, woman, because someday, yeah. So this is part of the second half of the song, I guess. Crown of thorns, that's what Jesus Christ wore. So he's seeing himself, I guess, as like fading away, in the sense of Christ. I don't know. I'm not going to try too hard to interpret that. But then he says, it's all who you know. And what do they say about, making it in the business? I guess in this case, the entertainment business, it's all who you know. So don't burn your bridges. So he might be commenting on what he's been going through as far as meeting people and, getting the record deal. I mean, he was on his way up career-wise. They were getting signed and they were on their way up. So don't burn your bridges, woman. But I think he's talking about, from this perspective, again, the character Chloe that he can't be, that's starting to burn the bridge. He's starting to not be able to connect with it anymore. And he sees this as his own death because he needs Chloe. He needs to be Chloe. If he can't be Chloe, he doesn't want to live. So I know that's a very dark interpretation, and I could be incorrect, but I think there is a grain of truth to this. So that's that. I hope that was interesting. I do want to, as I said, do a blog on Andrew Wood. I want to get his the investigative report concerning his death. Hopefully I'll be able to obtain that at some point, and if I'm able to, I will definitely do a blog about it here.